Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's ELN Hangout. My name is Stacy Wallace. This is our Marketing Jedi Tips, where we are going to be coming to you again every week, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, and sharing with you marketing secrets to help you blow up your Soul of A business. Now, today, and most of you know, this month, we have been talking about smart money. Not only is it important to know how to do outbound marketing or external marketing, but it's also important to know what to do with the marketing dollars that you do have, as well as the income that is made off of any of your businesses. So this month we have been talking about smart money, and we have been working through basically a book that I wrote in 2008. Oh, that was the revision of it in 2008. And what we did is, what we're doing is we're going through chapter by chapter, because this was written in such a way as to help anyone that is in debt or anyone that wants to maximize their finances, how they can do that and move from a income strategy to a wealth building strategy. Now you'll see that the tagline there is make it, save it, grow it. We want to show you, obviously with Soul of A, we're giving you ideas on how you can add income, save money by reducing things off your budget, of course build a business, so making money as well as saving money, knowing what to do with that $20 a month that you make, knowing what to do with the $500 you're making, knowing what to do with the $10,000 you're making a month. Does it just increase the amount of spending you have, or are you actually having a saving or investment strategy that's going to help you for a long-term portfolio? And then of course we've got grow it. What does that mean? We want to show you how to take $20 and grow it into $200 or $200 into $2,000. And that's what we're talking about over the course of this month. Now, week one, we talked about the psychology of money. If you're watching this right now, right below this video, if you're watching it live, you'll see the link of chapter 1 from the book. I went ahead and posted that for you, that you can go in and you can review chapter 1 straight out of the book. Now again, I want to remind you this was last revised in 2008, so there's going to be some percentages towards the back of the book when we talk about investing and things like that, obviously in 2008 we started to see a major market crash, so there may be some discrepancies in interest rates, things like that. Don't worry about it. Just apply it to where we are today. Everything else in the book, the principles in the book, are very sound for you. We've even got places where you're going to be able to write out information. Next week we're going to be sharing with you some new tools, online tools, that you can use to begin to document where you're bleeding, document where you're spending, document where you need to be saving, even tax strategies. We're going to be sharing that with you next week. This week, again, below this video, I posted chapters 2 and 3 so that you can follow along. Now, chapters 2 and 3 today, we're going to be talking about discover, design, deliver. Now, what does that mean? A number of years ago, my husband, Larry Wallace, was involved with a major technology company, and in the process of creating new technology, of course, there's a lot of requirements that go in ahead of time where they're just laying out ideas, they're discovering the needs that are in the marketplace, then they design a plan. That's where the requirements come in. What is it going to take for us to build that technology, and then deliver? They're going to have projects that are going to be delivered, deliverables on specific dates. Now, how does that relate to you? Well, we are going to discover, design, deliver. Number one, we want to discover today, where are you financially? Now, we have created, and you'll see in that chapters 2 and 3, you're going to be able to actually write out and document where you are. Now, next week we're going to show you an online tool that makes this a little bit more tech savvy and simple for you. But today you can actually begin the process. Next week you'll have it all written down this week, so that next week you can input it into the program that we're going to show you. But you're going to see that you're going to be able to begin to discover, where am I spending money? Where am I bleeding? Where am I losing money? We're also going to show you how to begin to design a plan, a 7-year plan. Now, obviously, some of you, it won't take you 7 years to get out of debt, but no matter who you are, no matter how much debt you're in, whether you're in $20,000 worth of debt, $200,000 or $2 million in debt, we're going to show you a plan that over the course of the next 7 years, you need to have a 7-year plan of freedom. And what that's going to be able to give you an opportunity to do, if you want to advance that faster, like my husband and I did, we were able to get out of debt back many years ago. We were able to do it in about 2 to 3 years because we took every bit of excess margin and we applied it quickly. We snowballed our debt. So we're going to show you how to do that as well. But that's just below this. You can see the link. Now I want to welcome to the Hangout with me today my very good friend, of course, incredible financial advisor, and we want to make it clear that on this Hangout we're not providing specific financial advice. We encourage you to get with your CPA as it relates to the specifics of your finances. But what we are doing is giving you ideas and strategies that you can take to your CPA to give you a foot forward so you know what to do with your finances and to help you create a financial plan that will help you move forward with your finances, be smart with your money, and then move from a money-making income strategy to a wealth-building legacy strategy. With me today, again, is Juan Williams. He's been my partner in this, talking this month. I know last week he talked about specific tax deductions that you can be taking advantage of right now with your business. And today we're going to be talking again about how to begin to document where you're at so we can move forward. I see Laura Wells has just popped in with us as well. She's going to be monitoring online through our Facebook account, which is facebook.com/groups/Empowered Living Network. You can go on there and begin to participate in the conversation itself. I'm going to be getting feeds from Laura on questions that you guys are asking so that we can, of course, have a clean recording as well as have a conversation going on in our Facebook account where we encourage all of you tap in there. So many great conversations. Use that group, again, to find solutions. If you've got issues or challenges with your Solivay business, we encourage you go to support.solivay.com, tap into the forum so that you can get official answers and be able to participate in that forum. Now that forum is designed to solve problems. So if you go over there and go, whoa, why are all these people asking about APN settings and picture messaging and all of that? It's because that's what that's designed for. The forum is designed to answer questions and solve problems. Our Facebook group is designed to create solutions and connect people. So we want to make sure that you tap into that as well. Again, facebook.com/groups/Empowered Living Network. Laura, welcome to the Hangout.
Hey guys, good to be here. Sorry I'm late.
Juan, welcome to the Hangout. We're going to jump in here. Anything you want to share before we jump into Discover, Design, Deliver?
I think the topic today, Stacy, and hello to all the folks out there, is going to really impact a lot of people because as we spoke about last week and the week before, so many people are riddled in debt, and I think the information that we're going to give them today will really help them to start thinking about their debt as really something that is an enemy to them. And I think until you can see debt and finance as an enemy, then you will not start to the process to make it go away. And so I'm just looking forward to this call, to the information that we're going to present. You know, in going through your book, we have seen so many different areas that people really need to take seriously, because if you're out of debt, that means that you're on your way to financial success. And it starts with that mentality, debt, taxes, all the things that we've been talking about. And I think as we continue to go through these calls and this Hangout, people are going to start saying, wow, there is something that we can do. There is something that we can really discover here that will change our lives, because the conversations are not going on often enough in corporate America or in people's homes. You know, all we hear is that people are stressed out. And I had a guy yesterday who is about to lose his home, and he's about to go into all sorts of pressure because he has 3 kids and he doesn't want to leave the school system. But I was talking to him and I said, well, you know, the pressure that you're under right now is really, really bad because you can get into some serious health problems. He says, well, it's funny you said that. He's only about 30-something years old, but while I was talking to him, he was driving into the clinic because of all the financial stress. His heart is racing and his blood pressure is up and his cholesterol is up, and it's just, but it all started because he has so much debt and so much financial problems. So I hope everybody will stay tuned, and as you go through this whole area of debt and finance and so forth for the rest of this call.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. Thank you, Juan. It's interesting that you say that because that is, and I'm getting right now a couple of notes actually from Laura. We're not sure if it's Laura's connection or if it's us here, that it might be a little choppy, that you're choppy as well. So it could be at Laura's end. But we'll just stay tuned, guys. If we need to reshoot this and post it so that you guys can have this later, we'll do that. But we're going to go ahead and move forward. It looks clean on my end. I think it's clean on Juan's end, so let's just hope that you guys are seeing it well. But Juan, you mentioned the stress that is caused by debt. That's how we open up Chapter 2, is really talking about some specific stories of people, not only stress, but ironically enough, it causes sexual tension, it causes romantic tension, it causes physical tension in the home. And of course, we open up with a story of how finances turn to low self-esteem, turned into marriage stress, turned into no longer having intimacy. And it was this big, huge snowball that you think, oh, it's no big deal. I'm just buying an extra outfit. And yet that stress is mounting because it's not one cheeseburger that sends you to obesity. It's daily decisions of poor food choices that lead you to becoming out of control. It's the same thing with money. Yesterday I went, and we've got this big event coming up this weekend. I haven't had a chance to find something to wear. It's we got a dress-up cocktail, and I made the mistake this last week of wearing a dress that I've worn before. And somebody said, "Is that the same dress you wore last year?" So as a woman, I'm thinking I got to go out. So I went to Nordstrom Rack, which is like a really great store that offers you great clothes at a discount. And I'm in there, and what's interesting about it is I go in there and I found a dress, really pretty. It was a dress that was normally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, marked down, marked down, marked down. I got it for $99. So I thought, wow, that is a really great deal. And I walked up, and I had some shoes and had a couple of other little blouses. Well, I walked up and ended up, when I checked out, the lady said on that outfit, on that purchase, she said, "Oh, well, congratulations. Today you've saved $676. And I said, "It's not the way we like to think about it." Honey, guess what? I saved you $676. Not to mention the fact that I had to spend money to save that money. So it's really not a savings. So there's amazing things that go on in the culture around us to make us think that we're saving money when really we're spending money. Chapter 2 talks about this so that you wake up and go, wait a minute, I got to get smart. Not only that, let me just bounce over here real quick. You're going to see in Chapter 2, Dr. John Sarno is a professor of clinical rehabilitative medicine at the New York University School of Medicine. What's interesting about this is he specializes on treating people with back pain. Obviously, back pain can lead to chronic pain elsewhere in the body. And as he was doing his studies, he was shocked to realize how much pain through herniated discs and other things that are very common were related to stress. You can read through there and you can see Dr. Sano concluded that painful back spasms and chronic back pain often resulted from chronic tension, stress, frustrations, anxiety, and worry. His theory then said that tension impacted blood circulation to those specific back muscles. So, is it important for us right now to come to a place where we are stress-free? Absolutely. Is it about making more money? No, it's not. You can live stress-free right where you're at. Today, we want to show you how to take where you're at and begin to get smarter with your finances. Now, of course, you can apply this to your health and fitness. You can apply this to your marriage. You can apply this to your faith. Take the principles that we're talking about as it relates to getting smart with your money. Now, let's just take, for example, think about your marriage, right? If you're finding that you are losing relational love bank units, find out where you're bleeding. Maybe it's in when you constantly come home and you have to watch football instead of asking your wife how she's doing. Maybe it's that you're not spending enough time with the kids. Remember, you're either depositing love or you're extracting love. So you want to be a giver and not a receiver. Same thing with your finances. You're either adding to the overall wealth plan or you're deleting from the overall wealth plan. Same as your health and fitness. You're either choosing good foods that are adding to your health or you're depleting your energy, depleting your health and wellness. So take the principles today, and we're going to look at this. Now, one, I want to go down here, and I'm just going to put it on the screen there so that we can talk about worries caused by debt. These really align well with what we talked about in week 1, that we talked about the slavery of debt. A lot of the same things here is what causes slavery, obviously causes worry. But what I want to do here now is I'm going to go past, and I'm going to jump into where we are actually going to start documenting, getting people to extract information. Yesterday I walked through with a brilliant leader, wonderful, incredible man that's gone through some personal difficulties. We walked through what we call a timeline experience of that person's life. Now, why is it important for you to document where you've been? Because it sets you up for power to where you're going. So you can break limited behaviors, self-sabotage, things that continually show up. You know, if you've gone through, you know, you get out of debt, you get back in debt. You get out of debt, you get back in debt. If you've gone through that a lot, or you just keep cycling down in debt, chances are you've got some addictions that you need to overcome, and they're probably spending addictions. They're probably search for approval addictions, things like that. Same thing as if you continue to lose weight, put it back on, lose weight, put it back on. Chances are you've got limited thought processes, you've got behaviors that are causing you to continue to revert back to something that happened in your childhood, something that happened way back, that if you just keep trying to put a Band-Aid on it, it's always going to resurface, because life has a way of unpeeling scabs of your past till you truly find healing. So that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to help you begin to discover, as it relates to debt, the damage that debt is causing you. So you'll see on here, number 1 is discover. Now, why don't you, I know you've gone through this book in great detail, why don't you take us through a couple of these things here, the downfalls of debt, and show them how they can begin to document some of these things, and the next week we're going to actually show them an online process that we're going to make sense of all this.
Okay. Well, one of the things that you mentioned, Stacey, that's really, really important for people to understand is, first of all, knowing that you're in debt. Okay? I think it's really important for us to recognize that debt is something that is so common in our nation today that people take it for granted. They take for granted that, you know, it's okay to go and buy a car on debt, on payment. So they're not thinking about buying a used car. They're thinking about, I'm going to go get that $35,000, $40,000 car, and since it's only costing me $400 or $500 a month, then it's okay. And they don't even realize and have counted the cost of what that car is really costing them. You know, that $35,000 car is not just costing them another $10,000 by the time they finish pay for it, but it's the stress of every month having to go through and make that payment. Now, they're making those payments, but what they really want is the car, not the payment that they have to make. And so everyone knows that there's a trust factor in going to buy a car. And I like to use car because most of us drive vehicles. When you go out and you purchase a car, you are thinking to yourself, well, you know what? I'm going to be able to make these payments. But what we're not thinking about is what happens if we can't make that payment. And then the fact that we will be in such a turmoil because we're putting our finances, our family finances at risk, we're putting our marriages at risk, we're putting our whole future at risk, because that $500 payment, if we didn't have to make it, we could be investing it. And we could be taking that money and turning it into a whole lot of money by the time we finish paying for that car. So the stress comes on. And so it's important that what people do, as you said here, is write down what is it that's causing, what type of pain are we bringing upon ourselves. And we can go back to the past, you know, when you had a credit card or you had something that you knew that you couldn't make the payment on. All the stress that brings on, Stacey, and I think people don't take the time to write it down, to just enunciate exactly what is going on here and why it is that they are in this position. Like you said, it didn't just happen overnight. You
Right.
know, we start off in high school, we start off, in college, getting those credit cards, and then it just snowballs into this huge, huge amount of financial burdens that we put on ourselves. And I like to look at it and say, you know what? It's become a habit for most of us.
Yeah.
And you know how hard it is to break a habit once it starts. And debt has become a habit, and we are habitually getting out of debt and getting back in. We fix our credit, and then what do? And why do we want to fix it in the first place? Because we want to borrow again, and we want to be able to get this new car or this new house or this new credit card. And so everything happens, and that's why I think it's important right here for people to say, if I was out of debt, what would that free me up to do? What would I do? But most importantly, what is it causing me to be in debt? What type of stresses and financial problems am I getting myself into every single day that I wake up? And so it's important, again, folks, to write things down and to make sure that you know why it is that you're doing it. The why is more important than the how. And you have to get there and say, okay, I'm going to deal with this situation once and for all and never get back into that situation again.
That's good. When we talk about that, and today what we're going to do is have you actually, if you want to go ahead and download the PDF that we've got listed there underneath the video here, and download it so that you can begin to write these things out. Now, number one, of course, as we said, was write out the downfalls of debt. Like, what's the real damage that's taking place of debt, besides the fact that it's draining you financially? Talk about the stress. Talk about your relationships. Document. Alcoholic Anonymous, the first thing you have to do is you walk in, you say, I admit I'm an alcoholic. You have to admit I need help, right? And you have to then recognize that there is one source of help, and I'm going to go to that source to help give me wisdom in order to be able to get out of that situation. Debt is the same way. I know people with gambling issues and spending issues. I've worked with a lot of folks in these areas, and they can say, okay, I'm going to quit, but they never deal with the root of why they got that addiction in the first place. That's why going through this book is real important for you to begin to allow yourself to do some discovery. The next thing is what would I do if I were debt-free? What if your house was paid for, your cars were paid for, all of your credit card bills were paid off? What would you do? Well, this is where a lot of people start talking about lifestyle. They start talking about spending time with their family, making choices instead of being slaves to a master, being able to give back, being able to birth orphanages, do things that you otherwise can't do when you're bound to debt. So if I were debt-free, I would, and you're going to see some stories through here, then discover the benefits that come with that debt-free lifestyle. Why is it important right now? And I know a lot of folks, they get involved in their own businesses and they spend more money than they make. I challenge you. There's a time and a place where you're investing. You've got to be smart with your investments. But you've also got to make sure that you are applying the increase to paying off those at that investment time so that you can begin to get to a place of capital. Every business, now some businesses it takes a year, some people it takes 2 years. Make sure you're smart with your money. If you are in a time of investing into a new business, that is not the time to care about what you're going to be wearing to a party. Okay, can I just say it? Who really cares if you wear that dress again? Who really cares if you show up and it's not a brand new outfit? Who really cares if your nails are done? Honestly, in the long-term view of peace of mind, better health, more free time, if you're in a time of a season of your business where you're investing into a long-term strategy, go lean everywhere else. Think about how can I cut back on these areas, or how can I, maybe I don't have to get my hair done every 6 weeks. Maybe I can go 9 weeks. You look at the areas of your life. Maybe you don't need to get your nails done. I went for a good 6 years without getting my nails, without getting manicures or pedicures. The things that now, in a debt-free lifestyle, I can afford, paid for. They don't go on credit. They're paid for. I can pay cash for them. Make sure you're being smart with your money so that you can begin to have those benefits. Now, how would that improve your life? Well, I can tell you personally, not only in health, in fitness, in every area, in your relationship, there is nothing. I love the saying when we're talking about weight loss, nothing tastes better than skinny feels, right? And nothing wears better, drives better, or sparkles more than peace of mind and debt-free living. I'm just telling you, there's nothing else out there that compares. And so think about that. How would being debt-free improve your life? What would it do to your health? What would it do for your family? What would it do for your kids? How would it improve your relationships? How would it improve your church, your give back, the things that matter most? So here's the review of Chapter 2, and then we're going to jump right here real quick into Chapter 3. But before we do, let me jump over to Laura. And Laura, let's see, I know you've been popping off and on and trying to get a good connection there. Do we have any questions right now, or anything that you want to add there to the discussion of Chapter 2?
You know what? No, I don't see any questions on Facebook. Of course, I just had to restart, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to check. But, I mean, just personally, you know, and it's funny because we got married very, very young. I mean, I was 17 when we got married. We didn't know about finances. We had no clue what we were doing with our money. And, you know, probably for the first 15 years of our marriage, maybe even longer, I was in charge of doing the bills. And, you know, we went through cycles. And I think it's important to be okay with the ebb and the flow. You're going to go through cycles just like in your business, but in your finances too. Because we had to learn. I mean, it's an evolving process. We had money, we would spend every dime and then some. And then when we didn't have any money, we would still spend every dime that we had and then some until we literally just decided. It was just a decision. Enough of that. It's a cycle that's never going to end unless we decide to end it. And so just in the last couple of years, we've been partners in that, and it's difficult. Sometimes you have to make really difficult decisions that other people aren't going to understand, but you have to be okay with those decisions that you make, because you know in the long run it's going to bless and benefit your family, and then you can turn around and have abundance to give to other people. But in the meantime, it's hard. It's really hard, but it starts with a decision.
And Laura, Stacy, I just wanted to add this, where people start writing things down, it's really important that when you write it down, you don't just put it away. I think it's a good idea to put it somewhere where you can look at it every day and know the reasons why you are in debt and know the reasons why you want to get out of debt. And if you can look at that every day, then it will continually remind yourself that this is something that you don't want to deal with. So make sure that the information that you write down, you can post it somewhere, whether it be on a mirror in the restroom or above your bed or somewhere where you can continually remind yourself that I have to do this. Otherwise, my health, my family, my whole life will be affected by it. So it's really important that you make note of that, even on your phone, that it pops up every day or somewhere where you can really see it every day happening before your face.
Record keeping is a big one, and that is eye-opening. When you start keeping track of everything, I remember when Jeremy started doing that, when he took over our finances and doing the budget and all of that, he literally started tracking every penny. And as a wife, that was annoying at first because everything was written down, and he could literally see how much money our family was spending on groceries, how much money our family was spending on eating out, Starbucks, fast food for the kids' snacks on the way to shuffling the after-school stuff, and it was eye-opening, and it was painful. But when you start doing that, again, just like in your business, you've got to run your finances just like you run your business. When you start tracking your progress and tracking data, how many people have I talked to? How many times did I follow up? What did that result in terms of new referrals? That kind of thing is the same thing as tracking in your finances. It's very eye-opening because you think you're doing better than you usually are, but when you start tracking it, you really start to it all comes back around, because now our finances are in a much better place than we remember, the past, and so we automatically think, oh my goodness, it's kind of crazy, but it's actually getting better because we're tracking it. And but allow yourself to have some fun. You have to have that, just like going on a diet. It's a lifestyle, so you're not going to starve yourself, to losing weight thing that you were talking about, Stacy. You're not going to just starve yourself for 3 weeks. You have to allow yourself to have fun, or you're going to burn out. I think it's the same thing with finances too.
Well, and it's interesting here as we move into chapter 3. You know, most of you guys know that my career as an executive life coach has put me into some pretty intense coaching with people with a lot of money, a lot of clout, a lot of strength, high-powered positions, CEOs of corporations. These are people who are, some of them are really, really good at making money, but they're broken. I call them brilliant but broken. Brilliant in one area, but broken at doing life. They can't keep their marriages together. They can't figure out, I mean, look how many incredible artists can go out and become platinum selling recording artists, and next thing you know, they're in debt. Michael Jackson, I mean, how much more of an example can you use of a brilliant artist who, man, just the snowball caught up and financially catches up. You see a lot of people, Mike Tyson, remember Mike Tyson when, man, talent can get you to the top, but biting people's ears, that's not going to keep you there, right? You got to have a plan, a long-term plan, not only of how you're going to make money, but how you're going to make it, save it, grow it. Now, chapter 3, I want to warn you, this is where we start pulling up the dross of your life. So as we're coaching, when we go through the timeline experience, and maybe one of these days we'll do that, where we take you through your history to help you realize why you have some habits that you have, why you do what you do. An example would be, I had a lady that came to me, and she was beautiful Christian lady, went to church every Sunday, had great faith. Everybody saw her as perfect, very pretty, and she was a little bit overweight, so she was wanting to lose some weight. So she engaged in my Ultimate Body Makeover and was a part of a women's group that was going through that process together. And we began to realize that she has a lot of problems when she was unveiling her timeline and let me know that a year prior she had just gotten out of jail. And the jail was completely demoralizing. She was on the front page. Basically, she worked at a bank, and her husband got into such financial debt that they were getting ready to lose everything, and she thought to herself, because she had obviously tens of thousands of dollars going through her hands every day, all we need is $7,000. And I can just take the $7,000 and I'll put it back on Monday. No one will ever know it's gone. I'll borrow it from the bank. And so she borrowed $7,000, walked out with the thought, I can't tell my husband. If he knows we're in because she handled the finances, if he knows we're in this much debt, he'll go crazy. And so she borrowed $7,000 from the bank illegally. Of course, she stole it. And then, of course, that weekend got sick inside. I mean, oh my God, what have I done? How can I do this? So she turns herself in. She goes to the bank executive and said, here's what I've done. She had been working with the bank, had won awards with the bank. And of course, you know, that's a major federal offense. So she was turned in, and they booked her, put her in prison, front page of the newspaper, small town, and it's amazing how stress can lead you to insanity. Literally doing things you would never, ever think about doing if you were in your right mind. But what happened was when we began to go through her timeline, because now she's like, okay, now how do I put my life back together, right? So maybe you're in a situation where you've made horrible relationship decisions, or maybe you've made bad financial decisions. Maybe you've done things you deeply, deeply, deeply regret, and you're like, can I ever put my life back together? Well, the answer is absolutely. You are still breathing because there is a divine purpose for your life, and usually right where the enemy tries to destroy you is where God's going to use you. Usually right where there is pain or repetitive habits, usually those are the areas where you're hurt the most is probably where your future is going to use you the most. And so I know that's the case, and when we do go through the timeline experience, I'm going to tell you some things about my history that truly, when you look back, you see clues. Wow, I went through that when I was 4. I went through that when I was 8. I went through that when I was 16. I experienced that pain when I was 18. My house burned when I was, 27. You begin to put together the clues that your life leads for you so that you can then look forward and go, wow, I get it. And like Laura said, today I choose that my past will not hold me back from my future, but it will become a stepping stone, a foundation for me to now make better choices and do what I'm called to do in this life. Now, before you can do that, you got to begin to discover some things. If we were taking you through your timeline, I would be taking you back to the day you were born and even before that, like that lady. What she did is she began to talk about her parents and the infidelity that was in her family relationship, and that they were always covering up their mistakes, always covering, always shuffling things under the rug. When she was a little girl, she remembers being 4 years old, sleeping on the floor of their shack. She could look through the cracks in the floor and see the chickens pecking the ground underneath the shack, and yet would wake up for Sunday morning church. Mom would put on a beautiful frilly dress, little patent shoes that matched the little patent purse, dress her up, and always said, don't ever give anyone our address, covering up who they really were, covering up. So she lived life covering up. When we went through her timeline, we realized that day in the bank was the biggest cover-up of her life. And it had been set up for literally 48 years since she was born. She was being set up her whole life. Cover up reality. Sweep it under the rug. Just put on a facade till finally it caught up with her. And sometimes life slaps you upside to where you feel like you're completely crushed. And what it is God's trying to say, let's deal with this once and for all. Let's finally, once and for all, go to the root of why you just did what you did. That's what we're getting ready to do with Chapter 3. We're not doing the timeline experience. We'll do that in the future because that's a pretty deep experience. But what we are going to do is we're going to start to discover where you are right now financially so that we can begin to uproot some of those habits. And you're going to begin to see them as we put them down here. Now, again, we're going to transfer this eventually to an online method. But this is going to be very simple for all of you watching. Download the PDF and begin to write out, what is my credit card debt? How much do I owe? What is my minimum payment? And what is my interest rate? Those are very, 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 very important columns. That interest rate is very important for you to know. Just because you're getting airline miles, hello, does not mean that is a good credit card unless you're paying that off every single month. Because if they are paying you in airline miles, that means they're probably giving you an increased interest rate. You're not ever getting anything free from the banks. Y'all got that? Nothing's ever free. You're paying for it. So we're going to show you how to snowball those highest interest rate credit cards first, because we want to make sure. Now, some of you may have multiple credit cards, and we might come up with a plan to knock a couple off. But those high interest rate ones, we got to get rid of that because it is bleeding your family. We're going to show you how to do that. You can go all through this process. Before I go any further, let me just jump over to Juan. Juan, anything you want to add at this point?
I think it's so important, Stacy, that as we spoke earlier about writing things down, and Laura, you spoke about record keeping. This exercise that you're laying out here for people to do is something that most people do not like to do. Most people don't want to face reality. They don't want to say, okay, well, you know what? I know I owe so much on credit card debt. Because what happens is they haven't been paying those credit card debts. They have just let them sit, and they have snowballed so bad right now that the only place they're going to find it is in their credit report. And so if people want to face the reality is this, that they have had credit card debts for the last 7 years that they haven't even touched. And so they haven't touched the past ones, and now we're talking about the current ones. And because they haven't touched the past, they don't even want to deal with the current situation because it's just become a snowball. So what we have to do is sit down and become real with ourselves and say, okay, how much debt do I really have? What are those credit card debt that I have that's been sitting in my account I haven't been paying for the last 7 years? What am I going to do about those? So when you start writing down your debt, it's important that you put everything down. If you have to pull up your credit report and go in there and say, okay, well, I know I haven't paid this debt. It's not just the credit card, but you know, the medical bills and the companies that are after us for money. So it's important that you put down everything and see where you are. This is a journey, and it's going to take some time. You know, if you read, you'll see that it does take time to pull all these numbers together, to pull your credit card statements, to pull your bank statements, to go into your credit report. But if you really are serious about fixing your finances, you have to strategically do it, whether it be your taxes, whether it be your debt, and look at these numbers and say, okay, this is where I'm at right now. Because once you find out where you are, then with Stacy's plan, you will be able to get yourself to a place where you've never been before. And it takes faith and it takes trust. And we're doing this because we believe that the people who are in this call, and if they have problems, will do something about it. And, you know, we make these calls available. So if you get on here and you're having problems, you know, some of you might have tears in your eyes right now, not wanting to deal with the situation, but you have to deal with it. You have to look at it and say, okay, where am I financially? And start writing.
Yeah.
Get it on paper so you can see where you are.
You know what? And that's like, again, using the weight loss thing. It's because, I mean, I'm on a kick right now. So we're getting financially stable. I'm dropping a few pounds. I'm right in the middle of both right now. And this is one that is so spot on, because after you make the decision to lose weight, or after you make the decision to get out of debt, the hardest thing is to get on the scale on that very first day to check and see where you are. You get on the scale, you take your measurements, and it's going to be ugly, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to realize, oh man, I got some work to do. And so, you know, but you have to start there. You have to get everything out and get real, like Juan was saying, because little by little, as you chip away at the weight, at the debt, whatever, as you chip away, you can celebrate the small successes. And that's going to be huge later on when it gets hard and you're like, well, maybe this isn't worth it. You have to be able to celebrate those small successes along the way so that you can keep going. I think that's really important, but it's going to be, you've got to make a decision, and your why has to be really strong.
That's awesome, Laura. You know, for the first time in a long time, I went in last night. This person that I'm working with is hitting October 1st as a season of completely reinventing themselves, physically, spiritually, financially, in their career. And so it's going to be a 90-day plan. And as I was talking to them, I told them, you know, it's important for you to go through the timeline experience. And so I was going through, and I said, I'll send it to you, because it was a part of a major 90-day program that I had written. And I have not brought that out of what I would say off the shelf in a couple of years, actually. And when I was looking for that specific file, Laura, I found the day, I think it's day 2, where I say to people, today's the day we're going to begin to discover where you're at. Get a measuring tape and a scale, and then breathe. Just take a breath, because we have to go through this process. And in it, it's a 90-day email coaching thing. But in it, I said, cry if you must, kick and scream, throw your body on the ground, do whatever you emotionally have to do to get through the process. But in order for us to know your progress, we've got to identify where you are. And it's also the way we're going to be able, I'll tell you, one time I helped a lady lose over 150 pounds. And this is really, probably too much information for me to share, but her obesity, she was 361 pounds. She was a 6-foot-tall woman, very large woman. Her obesity had been with her for so long, and she was in such denial. Many of you guys have heard folks like Tony Robbins that do some pretty extreme things. Well, I knew she needed a major wake-up call. So I told her the only way that I would work with her is if she would follow the first instruction I had for her. She said, I'll do anything. What is it? And I said, tonight I want you to go home, take off your clothes and get naked, and I want you to clean your house naked. And she laughed, and I said, you won't be laughing later. I said, I want the whole house cleaned, but you have to do it naked. Now, she was single, so it wasn't like she had family or kids. She called me the next day, and she said, I cried all through the night because I've never allowed myself to feel that way and see myself when I walked in front of the mirror. But you guys know what? Sometimes we've got to have, you know, that wake-up call, the punch in the gut, the whatever it is, so that we can discover where we are. Why? Because nobody wants to live the rest of their life living a facade. We want authenticity, transparency, so that we can have true and lasting peace, like Laura just shared. So you'll see through step 5, you're going to be able to write out your income, your savings, your investments. Again, Laura said some of you might cry through this and realize I need to be better here. If you don't have anything in these investment lines, any in the savings lines, you know, we want to change that. This isn't to say feel bad about yourself. This is to say let's start with day 1. Let's find out where you're at, because later on in this discussion, these next couple weeks, we're going to show you how we're going to start adding things to those lines by beginning to shift where you've been bleeding and shift it into your margin. And so 5, of course, talks about the discovery process. You guys have heard a little bit about that story where I busted my head open. That's going to be all in there. And then as we scroll down, you're going to be able to see that we end up that Stop the Bleeding with an expense journal. We're actually going to have you start, again, we're chunking this down. Now we're getting into more finite expenditures. What am I spending on giving? People ask me, Stacey, why do you put that way up there? Because if you want to know the secret to my success, Larry's success, in our opinion, Jose Miranda and others, we believe that you can't outgive God. So I always calculate before anything else, 10% or more of what I make is not mine. And so I always off the top consider I work off of 80%, some people 90%, depending on how much you give, but I take that 10, 20% right off the top. So my real budget is not 100%. My real budget is at 80%. So when you look at that, is that a necessity? You've got to look at that. Is that something you want to put in your life? That's the way we've done it. I really believe that whole cycle of giving and receiving, you talk to some of the top leaders, even corporations that give 10% off their corporation. So once you go through this, you're going to go down to the details, food expenses, eating out, vehicle expenses, medical expenses. We're going to try to extract as much information so you can see where your money's sitting on a monthly basis. Most people don't like to look at this, like Juan said, because they don't want to see this laid out before them. But it's important that we do it. We're not going to leave you here, trust me. We're going to take you to a really good spot. But first, we've got to see this. Okay, Juan, jump in here real quick. Tell us what you got.
Okay, so what this does is really opens up a whole bunch of things for people. Again, most people don't want to admit to the fact that they are overspending. You know, it's easier and more satisfying to go to a movie or go to a dinner and spend $100 than it is to take that $100 and pay off a debt and stay at home and eat something. Because most people want that good feeling, that feeling of, oh, wow, this is going to make me feel better because I know I'm not going to be able to do it. And most people, it's just like saving or creating investments. You know, if you don't have $10,000 already saved up, then you know what? It's going to take too long for me saving $20 a month or $40 a month to get there. I just wanted to read this this quick little letter, and I think it will sum up this area that we're talking about for most people. Okay, and it's about keeping up with the Joneses.
Right.
Okay, and this is insane. And when I read this letter some years ago, I thought, wow, this sums up a lot of people that we're dealing with and ourselves are going through. Okay, and here it is, and it's real short. It says the lifespan of Mr. Jones. Okay. He goes off to college at age 18, armed with student loans to pay for it. While in college, he gets his first credit card and uses it to buy the toys he sees his friends buying. This 19-year-old makes payments on an HD TV, a video game system, and a nice SUV to take himself from class to class. Then he graduates college, he gets a modest job, and falls in love. He gets married and puts the honeymoon on the credit card, and when he returns, they need a place to live, so they buy a small condo. The happy couple can't sleep on the bare floor, so they go to the furniture store and buy furniture, appliance, plants, and lighting, and so on. And he does it all on the easy payment plan. So soon they start having children and they need kids' things. A new minivan with a TV, of course, vacation to Disneyland, and new school clothes every year from the local department store. Dad hasn't gotten that promotion yet at work, though, so they put it all on a credit. They move into a bigger home every 7 years and trade their cars every 3.5 years. In 18 years, Mr. Jones' kids go off to college to start the cycle again, but the kids have to take out student loans just like Dad did because he's still paying off the debt from his college years. And then eventually Mr. Jones turns 60, and like many Americans, he can't figure out what went wrong. He worked his whole life, earned over $1 million in his career, and has nothing to show for it. He's afraid that he and his bride will have to work until they die because he sees no end to the bills and no hope of a retirement nest egg. Mr. Jones simply did what he thought he should do, what everyone around him was doing. But by following those around him, who was simultaneously following him, Mr. Jones walked right into a prison of financial security. Unfortunately, that's what most people do. And so what we're talking about here is the keeping up with the Joneses mentality and trying to get things that we cannot afford, trying to do things that we know we shouldn't. And so by going through this exercise and putting down things on paper and outlining what you have, what you've put away for a rainy day and emergency and all that, I think will give people a reality and a dose of shock that will make them want to get out of debt and fix their finances. So I just wanted to add that a little.
And that is an awesome, awesome story, and so true. I think I know all three of us have been in that cycle. We lived in that cycle, and thank God we've learned how to get freed from that cycle. And a lot of it comes from paying your dues, guys, believing that there is a season of breakthrough, believing that a time will come that, you know, even now, when I'm in a place of financial abundance, guys, I still shop when I need something. Even though I can go right now and I can buy what I want to buy, I have to ask myself, what is more important to me, wearing that expensive brand or finding something that I can fix up and make it look good for a moment so that I can take those funds and put them elsewhere? You've got to identify your core values. Now, this is important. This is one of the final things here in this chapter. Identify your core values. You got to identify what matters most. So let me give you a personal example right now. I have a desire to have property, a large acreage. My husband, we both grew up on ranches. My daughter rides horses. But we want to buy a beautiful ranch. We've got certain plans, and so it's my barometer right now. When I go out and I say, even on this cruise that I was just on, you know, we were looking at jewelry. I mean, St. Martin's and St. Thomas, and you guys know you have some great jewelry, and you don't have to pay taxes and all that. And the idea of having a ring to remind myself of this trip, and you know, all this psychological things. You deserve it. You paid such a big price. And then I've got to come back to what matters most to me. Do I want to wear a ranch on my hand? Or do I want, or part of it, obviously I wasn't looking at that big of rings. Or do I want to continue the plan that we have to be able to stay debt-free buying a ranch? And you've got to have your core values identified. Do you want that new plasma screen TV, or would you like to see your kids be a part of that football league? Do you want to wear that dress, or would you like to be able to see your family pay off that credit card? If you don't have core values of what matters most in your life, you will do what's most convenient. And convenience costs you. I'm just telling you. We're in a world to make you feel comfortable. Comfortable makes you go into greater debt because it's what everybody else does. When you identify your core values, you'll begin to make new decisions, and you'll ask yourself, is this really important to me right now? Or is it more important to me to have these core values paid for and debt-free? So number 8 is going to help you discover what are your core values. It's going to then give you a spending plan chart that you can look at to see where your money is being spent and where you should be spending money. I mean, obviously, this is an average for the average American household. They're spending about a 35% on housing, 15% on transportation, other living expenses. Look, giving is 1%. That's even high. That's a high assumption. Savings 4%. Our goal by the end of this is to turn this pie chart around and see that instead of living expenses, housing, and debt, that your giving becomes a big portion of your chart. Your savings becomes a big portion of your chart because your housing, transportation, other things are paid for. We want to make this chart less blue, less green, less red, and more pink, more yellow. We want to begin to put those finances into things that matter most. So you're going to see a review there, and then, of course, you're going to see the rest of the book. We're going to be going into it in the future. This has been an awesome, guys, I thank you for your personal stories. I know you guys are both being very transparent in it, and I hope that this is helping folks, even as they see this in months and weeks to come, as they look at it on our Hangout page, which is facebook.com/Stacey Wallace Official. Is that correct, Laura? Not Facebook, youtube.com/Stacey Wallace Official. I think that's what it is. We hope that you're going to be able to watch this and share it with your friends as well. Anything you want to share before we go, Laura?
I think my camera's off. Can y'all hear me still okay?
We can hear you, but you're frozen.
Okay, yeah, I'm making a silly face. So, no, I wanted to kind of reiterate that and just to really let people know that it's okay to start where you are. You know, it's not going to be easy, but just like anything, you have to start where you are. You can't just, you know, keep up with it, just like not taking your measurements and not getting on the scale is very similar to just continuing to put stuff on credit cards, continue to live beyond your means. That's like buying elastic pants every time you go up a size. You've got to just make a decision, no matter how much it hurts, and no matter where you are, you've got to start somewhere. And for a lot of people, you know, the reason I really love Solivay so much is for a lot of people, this is one of the easiest ways they can just start chipping away at that household expense, 35%, even if it's only 40 or 50 bucks a month that they're saving. You know what, you guys? That's better than nothing. Mm-hmm. It's one little change, one little decision every single day that will make the overall big scheme that you're trying to, big scheme of things in your life that you're trying to change. It's just little things make a big difference. So just start today.
Excellent. Well, I have here in the room with me, she's not coming onto the screen, so I'm going to force her to by talking about her, is my mom, Donna Wirch, and she is here for a big event that we've got going on here in town, and I'm just so honored. The life lessons that I've learned, the leadership that I have, it all goes back to how my parents helped me evolve and learn through life circumstances, even in business, to be able to build this big of a network. It is because of this woman here, and I'm just honored and excited. I love you so much.
Can I just say one thing?
No, you can say anything you want.
You know, I'm listening to you all, and Stacey has learned so much about smart money based upon some of the mistakes her dad and I made. And like we've told you all many times, that we were in direct sales in order to help subsidize some incomes for the things that we really wanted to do in life. And we made some big mistakes along the way, because when we didn't have money, we would travel to be at events. We didn't have the money, we'd put it on credit card to be at the events. And I know how strategically important it is to be at events, but I'm just telling you, until you do have the money to be able to be at events, and let me tell you something, what a blessing it is that these trainings, these seminars, these webinars are free to us. We can get brilliantly smart with our money and with Solivay by attending these meetings, by attending these webinars for no cost. And if right now you can't be at some of these meetings and some of these seminars and webinars, it's okay. there will come a time, you keep your nose to the grindstone, there will be a day when financially you'll have enough to be able to get there. And so I just encourage you, just be smart, because we've been there, we've done it the wrong way, and now we're doing our best to do it the right way.
Well, you know what's neat too is your son, our CEO and founder. People ask, why is he saying that only thousandaires or above can be at certain events? Because he knows, he watched his mom and dad try to pay to keep up with the Joneses in direct sales.
That's right.
He watched them, oh, I've got to buy this teaching series, and I've got to be at this event, and, you know, little $2,000 in debt,
Yeah.
$1,000 in debt, and he said, we will not be that company. He's not against events. He's saying, I will not be the company that makes people think that they've got to pay thousands of dollars to attend events in order to be successful. So even our big bashes and our hangouts and all that, he's doing them to where you can sit at the comfort of your home, host a party in your house, and be able to watch it absolutely free. Whereas those people who are at least making $1,000, they can afford a $500 plane ticket to get there, based on the fact that they're making money. Now you'll find that he is very, very supportive of this concept that she's just talked about, because it's our life experience. Yeah. We want you to learn how to be smart with your money. I can't. They can't see you. Look, they need to see you big.
Oh, great.
I love you, and I love that you have paved the way for us in so many ways, and I just love you.
Let's at least change my arm. It's like, let me get that down.
Do you not like your arm, honey? We don't get to do this very often when we can just look at ourselves on the screen, do we? I love you.
Don't make these people do this. Have to deal with this.
Juan, thank you so much
It's a
again for being a part. You're amazing. Next week we're going to have some very, you're making yourself shorter now. We're going to have some great tools that we're going to release to you. Go ahead and tap in. Again, download this if you want to. Write it out this week. We encourage you. Track with us. Reach out to us on Facebook if you've got any questions. We love you. Remember, now is the time. This is the place. And you are the one to start a revolution in your life. Believe in God's best.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.